Chartner TA video. I hope you have all had a good Christmas, and are looking forward to the new year. Sorry I've been away. I've been, enjoying my family time over the festive period, and yeah, man, it's been a great time. I got absolutely bladdered and smashed, and I've been recovering and back on my feet now. But yeah, I hope everybody's well and they had a good Christmas. So yeah, getting into this, I'm just diving into Bitcoin. I'm looking on the weekly time frame, and I do think it's most important that we do follow Bitcoin currently, because what Bitcoin does essentially, the rest of the market, follows in turn. So let's have a look at this, before I dive into any other alts on the channel. But yeah, let's look at this. So on the weekly time frame here, we can see back in 2020, we had this Black Swan event. So we have to bear this in mind here. This is an unpredictable event that happened, and it was due to COVID, etc., etc. But not diving into that too tough. But look, I want to show you something very similar in regards to patterns here. So we had this level of resistance for Bitcoin, which was, yeah, so Bitcoin was under this level of resistance, right? Look, you can see, look, boom, hitting its head, hitting its head, hitting its head, fell down, lost the EMAs, found support, and it got above, broke out the resistance, fell back to support, and then that's when we had the Black Swan for Corona and we lost support. Ideally here, what would have happened is this continuation. We would have been holding support and broke out. But because of Corona, we witnessed this massive dump. So this was an unforeseeable event. But in regards to this pattern here, this level of resistance that you keep hitting your head on, and you eventually broke out and held support, you can see that this is where you would have continued. And Bitcoin marched on to higher highs, in 2021 through 2020 to 2021. And I do believe you're going through something very similar now. So bear this level of resistance in mind and how the pattern played out. So resistance, 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 broke out, support, was meant to get continuation, had the Black Swan, but this was the actual pattern that tried to play out. Look how quick Bitcoin came back up. This was the pattern that tried to play. So are we going through something very similar here, where we're under this level of resistance? We was under this level of resistance here for Bitcoin, so something like that, right? Where Bitcoin, it came up, it was hitting its head, came down, hitting its head. It finally broke out and is now holding support of this trend line, just like it was here. It was meant to here. Look, it broke out, was meant to hold support of the trend line, but it fell because of Corona. But once it came back up, it got to the same position and broke out. And this is where Bitcoin went mad. So are we going to see something very similar, where we come down, we've broke out, we don't have the Corona dump, and we start marching on here, and Bitcoin starts to get its continuation? Because equally, let me just show you another pattern. On the weekly time frame, Bitcoin was, get that trend line back in. You had this massive, that you've got this left shoulder, you've got a big head, and then you've got a right shoulder. So that gives you a technical target. That's an inverse head and shoulders, and the breakout of that technical target, where you break out, is at 79k, I believe it is 77k, I think it is 78k. So the breakout of the inverse head and shoulders, that is your technical target for Bitcoin. But it failed to meet that, didn't it? And it ran into a level of resistance, and it's retraced. And you can see that what it's done is came up, broke this level of resistance, ran into another level of resistance, and it's come back for support. And where's it found support? On the line, on the level of resistance it previously broke out. This is what you want to see. You want to see it come back to these levels, hold, and eventually break out, because you're getting squeezed here on the EMAs. You can see that the price action, look right here, you're chopping between and you're consolidating. This is accumulation phase. A lot of fear, everyone's panicking, thinking that it's just going to crash and start going into the bear and rolling over. But I don't see it yet. I really don't see it yet. But it is crunch time. It is coming to a key point. This area of support needs to hold, and that's a trend line that is descending. So you have to currently, watch out for that trend line. It could come down to 44, 42k, but you want to see it hold, because you could do something like this before you break out. Start just coming between the EMAs, just going sideways, and eventually a break will happen, and that's where you need to watch out, guys. So that's on the weekly time frame. I always like to keep zoomed out and see the larger perspectives. But going off smaller time frames, if I clear it again, let me just clear the chart again, and we go into the 6 hour. The 6 hour, I quite like the chart on the 6 hour. So right, yeah, so here we can see other analysis are pointing out exactly the same patterns. You've got this level of resistance here that Bitcoin's been under. yeah, so this is why it's coming to crunch time, because as I mentioned in that previous zoomed out perspective, you're hitting your head on resistance. Look, you hit your head on resistance. This level of resistance here is very key. You lost it, and now look, you've come back up. You came into some sort of descending falling wedge here. Look, you came down, you've broke out, you've come up and tackled that resistance now, got above it and fell back to it for support on the 6 hour. So this is where you want to see Bitcoin start to get its continuation, because if you do lose this, level of support here, if you come back and lose this trend line and start to come under it and hit your head on it, you know, instead of holding it, come under it and hit your head and start to roll and lose this level of support, it's bad for Bitcoin. It's very, very bad. It's very negative. So we want to see it held, and this is a key area. You can see, look, it's wicked down to it. On the 6 hour. The RSI is quite healthy at the moment. That's at quite a healthy level. You know, we aren't exactly in the floor, but we are, you know, in close to them sort of areas. And you can see here, whenever you do get it, you do get some sort of little rally when you're down these sort of levels here. So do expect some sort of rally. But it could just go sideways, and you know, Bitcoin could range. You can see that it's ranging right now between this level of resistance and sort of this level of support here. So could we see Bitcoin literally just choppy like this until it decides to break out and everyone's just in mad fear? Who knows? But let's watch this space. That's a short video on Bitcoin, guys. I hope you enjoyed today's video. Until next time, and have a great New Year's from ChartNerd TA. Peace out.